Alright, hey guys, I am back with a brow video. This is something that a few of my friends have requested and I wanted to do because I really needed a brow touch-up and I could not get in with my brow lady. So I'm going to be honest with you, I'd much rather have her do this. She's way better at it and everything that I do is based on what she does to my brows. So this is just what I do between appointments. I am going to tint, shape, and then fill in my brows with just regular brow stuff. So this is a brow kit that I just get at a beauty store. You can get it on Amazon or a Cosmo Prof or whatever. And I just follow the instructions that come with it and do exactly what it tells me to. So really, I'm not even going to give you any tips on this. Just follow the exact instructions that come with the packet. So once I've mixed it all up, I'm going to take the stick that it comes with and I am going to start to brush it onto the hairs of my brow in short little strokes. This isn't fast forward, so I did it a little bit slower, but I have done this a lot of times, so it's kind of just like whatever to me. I don't get nervous about it. I just brush it on as if I'm filling in my eyebrows normally. Now, if you don't have hair on some parts of your brows, I would be really careful with the tint because this does stain your skin. So just try to place the tint where you have actual hair on your brows because it will stain the skin underneath the hair. I just want to reiterate that because if you get it on somewhere that there's no hair, it's just going to look like almost like a tattoo. So keep that in mind if you like that or you want to do that. Personal preference, but for me, I only like to put the tint where I have eyebrow hair. So I'm going to move on to the next eye. As you can see, I'm just doing the same thing. I use that corner tip to take off anything that gets on skin that I don't want there. And on this brow, I am missing a little bit of hair in my arch. I don't know how or why that happened, but I do put it on my skin just a little bit. That's because I want to use the tint to fill in that space. Just be very careful if you're going to be doing the same thing. This is very dark and does stain your skin. I can't say that enough. For me, it's gotten pretty easy and I am pretty fearless with it just because, you know, what's the worst that can happen? It's not permanent, so I just leave this on for 5 to 10 minutes. And then I take there's an airplane. I'm not going to stop recording. A makeup wipe and just start to wipe this off. I'm just rubbing it back and forth to make sure I get all the color. As you can see, it does make a significant difference. It looks like I filled in my brows and I have not. In person, it's even more bold than it looks here. Partly because you are tinting your actual brow hairs darker and partly because that skin underneath the hair is tinted also. Do not get it twisted. It's not just the hair. I think some people don't realize that, but that is absolutely the case. So I like to tint my brows before I tweeze them because it gives me the shape that I want and I can basically tweeze around that. I'm not the greatest at tweezing my brows or shaping them. That's why I get them done. But this tinting them before I tweeze them helps a lot because the tint is so dark and has already created the shape that all I have to do is go in and tweeze all the hairs that are outside of the tint that I do not want there, and it kind of helps clean everything up and keep the shape intact from what we did with the tint. If you are a beginner brow person, the best advice I can give you is to make sure that you are not over tweezing, but just getting all the stray hairs around. A big tip that I have is to tweeze over the top of your brows. This will help give you a sleek shape and makes it a smoother line, but be really careful. I also recommend going to get your brows done every so often because it's much easier to maintain after getting them done and seeing the shape that somebody else has created than it is to create the shape on your own. I don't even create the shape of my own when it comes to tweezing my brows. So just make sure to err on the side of caution when tweezing. You don't want to over tweeze, and when it comes to filling it in, that will help a little bit more. I'll explain that a little bit later. So now that I'm done tweezing, I'm going to come in and fill in my brows just to add a little more boldness. They look good and totally wearable now, but I like to fill them in just to add a little bit more zhuzh to my brows. When it comes to picking out a product, you want to get something that is close to your hair color, but it all is just preference. Some people go a shade lighter. I actually try to match it directly to my hair color. For blondes, I think it's just personal preference. You can go lighter, you can go darker, but they usually have some really good shades that are taupe or blonde for people who have lighter hair color. So with an angled brush and a brow powder, I am just going to start to build the thickness of the inner portion of my eyebrow, just using short strokes to lay down the color. So I just build it at the bottom of the brow and pull the color up, and then I go straight to the arch, and this is where I like to build the arch. So I'm just concentrating the color on the top of the arch to make it nice and defined and fill that part in, because that's the part where I have the least amount of hair. It might be different for your brows. Everybody's brows are different, but for me, I really like to concentrate the color on the bottom of the inner brow and at the top of the arch of the brow. Now today I'm using a powder because my brows are thicker, and with the tint it makes them a little bit darker. But if you are missing hairs, I would recommend using a pencil or a wax gel type thing, because that will give you much more color payoff when filling them in. I'll put some suggestions in the down bar for those products. Don't be afraid to be bold with your brows. I think this is something that makes the biggest difference on your eyes, and maybe the first time you fill in your brows you might be overwhelmed or think how it looks weird, but honestly it just takes some getting used to. For me, brows are such a huge part. I can wear no makeup and have good brows and feel okay about myself. So all I'm saying is just try something new. I promise you will get used to it, and you will find a way to make it your own and find a way to shape your brows to something that you think looks good. Just used a darker, more opaque wax to fill in some of the spaces that were missing some hair. Keep in mind that everybody's brows are different. So for me, I like to concentrate the color on the arch of the brow because that's where I really like to get my drama. But you might have more sparse hair and need to just concentrate on filling that space in which you don't have the hair and you want to create it. So everybody's different. I say just analyze your brows, figure out what you want in your brows before you start to fill them in, because that can make all the difference. So I just filled in the brows with a little bit of dark brow wax, and then I'm going to set them with this brow gel. This is Urban Decay. You've done so much work to get these babies in place and to look good. You want to make sure that you set them, because your brows will go crazy. After, a couple hours, they'll start to move. Who knows, you might hit a huge gust of wind. But I like to just set it with gel to make sure that these babies aren't moving anywhere. Depending on how you like your brows, you might want to trim the inner corner. I decided to do that. I go back and forth with this. Sometimes I leave them nice and bushy and I like the way they look thicker, but right now I'm really loving a super arched brow. So trimming the inner portion of the brow right here, as I'm doing right here, will kind of create a better arch. So I'm just going to brush this out after I trim them to see what they look like. This is after the gel has been dry, just keep that in mind. So this is my routine. This is my brow routine. It changes. I will let you know if it does change, but this is what I do right now. You might like something different. If you do, more power to you. But hopefully this at least gave you some insight on how I do my brows and how you can start to do your brows if you don't already, or how tinting can help. For me, I think tinting makes a big difference because it really kind of takes the guesswork out of it. Of course, I will name all the products I used in this video, including the brow tint. If you haven't already, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you like this video. All my social media information will also be in the down bar, so make sure to follow me across the board. And that's all I got. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk soon. Bye!